And we are back with the Pokemon cards. I've been listening to so much Minecraft music in the mornings when I'm like brushing my teeth and like washing my face, and it's a vibe. He's back, but I try to make him like do ballet, but he just kind of looks like he's stretching as if he just got out of bed. But you know what? There's value in that. Hi, hello, welcome back to my witch obsession. And in today's Pick a Pokemon card reading, we are going to be asking, how do men and women perceive you, or like how they view you, like what they think of you. And I'm really excited because, like, at least from my experience, I have no freaking idea how men perceive me. So it's very interesting getting readings on it because I don't know if other 12 house sons can relate, but like my dad was pretty distant emotionally as a kid, so I don't really know what men think of me. But like I was a mama's boy and I was really close with my mom growing up, so like I'm like able to read women really well and how they perceive me and how they feel about me. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So today we have 4 cards/4 piles today. Pile 1 we have Haunter, which is a Gen 1 Pokemon. And then we have Poliwag, which is a Gen 2 Pokemon. Shroomich, which is a Gen 3 Pokemon. And then Carvana, which is also a Gen 3 Pokemon. But kind of rushing it today because, if you just want to go watch the reading, introduce you to the piles. But, before we get into it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Which, by the way, thank you all because like y'all have been doing that. I freaking love talking to you guys. I love when people comment and it's like, I'll be responding back. I'm like, girl. Cause like I posted a short and people were like, oh my god, I freaking love this song. It was a New Jeans song, which by the way, New Jeans literally came out of nowhere. And I was like, oh my god, I like New Jeans too, you guys. But yeah. The timestamps for the piles will be in the description box as always. And other than that, see you at your pile. But if you want to listen to me ramble for an extra minute or two, then oh my gosh, you guys. So like the lucky girl syndrome is a thing. And like obviously I'm not a girl, but I don't know, like it's just been applying it differently because I've been listening to a bunch of subliminals on YouTube, partially because they're really relaxing, but also because like I am intrigued by like this whole luck thing. But I swear it's like it applies. It's a thing because I was listening to subliminal and I was like, oh, I'm so lucky, you guys. And then I went to Popeyes. They punched in my order wrong, so I ended up paying $8 less for my order. And then yesterday I was about to go out and I told my partner, I was like, girl, I'm just gonna go to the mall because I have the deadly urge to go to the mall. And he randomly sends me $40 to go. And then when I buy my shirt at Box Lunch, the cashier like scanned the thing that she had at the desk and she gave me $9 off. I was like, girl, don't play with me. But yeah, and then as I said, I've also been listening to a bunch of Minecraft music, and I've been listening to Axolotl and Wet Hands. I think those are my favorite right now. Do listen to those. They're so relaxing. Especially Axolotl. I remember one summer, I think it was like 2020, where I would shower in my mom's bathroom because she had a bougie big bathroom. And I would listen to Axolotl or like the other tracks from the aquatic playlist for Minecraft. So legendary. And oh my god, I remember when someone at my friend's work got our lovely pandemic disease, and then she was like locked up getting paid to just play Minecraft. So it was like a bunch of us, and I remember that era of my life, all I was doing was playing Minecraft with the group and like eating cheesecakes and salad. It was so iconic. We love that. Anyways, I think that's all I have for today. So, and by the way, thank you so much for listening to the Rambos. If you listen to them, like I don't gain, neither of us really gain too much from you listening to it, so I just wanted to say thank you. But other than that, let's take you to your reading. So see you there. Hello, pile 1. If you chose Haunter, this is going to be your reading. A little bit about Haunter. It is a ghost and poison type the evolved form of Ghastly, and the pre-evolved form of Gengar. I'm sure you probably heard of this Pokemon. It's very popular evolution line. Gengar is literally like sometimes the face of like Pokemon. But anyways, so I pulled 2 Oracle cards for both like how men and women perceive you. So for the men's side, we have the Bat, and then Door to Value. And then for women, we have the Snake and the World. So right at the Bat pile one, it definitely seems as if though like there seems to be like this connection between both how women and men perceive you, in the sense that like both of them see you as somebody like kind of a go-getter and somebody who is very expansive and also very good with their money. I feel like you are very peculiar about money, and I feel like you may even be a little bit materialistic in that sense, especially on the men's side. I feel like men perceive you as a little bit more flighty though, and a little bit like quicker and a little bit more ruthless. When I say ruthless, I mean like somebody who is not afraid of going after what it is they want, and somebody who is very much kind of like on the go constantly. And maybe sometimes with this back card here, you may also get hung up at times, and I do think that men are very good at picking that up. I feel like men like see you as somebody maybe at times a little bit emotionally unavailable, or somebody who is like a night owl. I was getting strong vibes from that. You could very well be a night owl, or someone who is very active during the nighttime. And I feel like, you know, when you do encounter men, it's like at night, so maybe you like going out at night. But on the women's side though, I do feel as if though it's kind of the same vibe, but it's a little bit more like they see you as a little bit more measured and a little bit mature. I feel like women definitely see that like you're a very creative person, somebody who's very expansive, especially with this World card here. And it just seems as if though like women see you as you're always going after something. They could see that you're probably very creative and very artistic, or somebody who's very like expressive. They definitely see the more emotional side of you. You're probably a little bit more flighty and rigid with men. And I do feel as if though like, I'm not gonna lie, I also feel like men sometimes see you as like, I'm getting like this gold digger energy, so they could be gold diggers, or like they could perceive you as a gold digger. Maybe you get like financial support from men at times, like maybe your father or like a brother or something. And like, you know, whether or not that's the case, basically the consensus of that like idea is just the fact that it seems as if though men see that you have like a very peculiar and a very like, not conservative, but like a very meticulous relationship with money. And I also feel like they see that you're always achieving something. You could be a very independent person. I don't think that you're a gold digger. I feel like they could be gold diggers, you know? I feel like you're somebody who has really made a good name for themselves. Somebody who's established a business, or somebody who, you know, maybe owns a small business. And somebody who, or it's just somebody who's a very hard worker. Men just see you as a very hard worker and somebody who's not afraid to accept their circumstances and keep moving along with life. I feel like you're the last person that they would think that you are somebody who's going to get hung up on something, or, you know, like stuck in a rut. And I feel like if and when you do, it doesn't take that long. It probably takes like 1 day night cycle before you're kind of like out and about again. Also with the snake card here, on the women's side, it's literally a snake. So like I do feel as if though women could sometimes see you as like sneaky, or somebody who is a little bit deceptive, somebody who's always hiding something. They could see that like you're clearly concealing something, or you're like keeping something from them, or like you could be a very secretive person. And I feel like women maybe feel like safe confiding within you, or like telling you their secrets, or telling you, you know, like the latest gossip. But I also feel like women maybe like have like a knack for like dumping on you, like dumping their feelings and like emotions on you. I feel like this is kind of on both sides. I feel like both, like everyone just kind of sees that like you're somebody easy to confide in, and I feel like you're somebody who is like kind of like always being like the supporter, if you will. I'm gonna pull some tarot. I didn't pull that many oracle cards today. I kind of wanted to focus on the tarot. No. I just get like very mysterious vibes from this reading. Like I wasn't expecting it to be kind of like, how do I say, like this like enigmatic, if you will, because it definitely seems as if though like both men and women don't see enough about you, or like they feel like they're kind of left in the dark with what you are doing. And I feel like men especially don't really know what you do for a career, or like what you do for like a living. I feel like with this door to value card, they definitely see that like you have a very prolific status when it comes to like finances and like, like career. But I feel like they don't know what it is that you're doing. It's just like all they see is like your big purchases, or how you can afford to live by yourself, or like how you bought your own car. They only see what you've bought, and like kind of like the results of your good financing and like your good pay and your profits. So it's like they only see that and they're like, oh my gosh, what does pile one do for a living? Whereas on the other end, I feel like women definitely see like the more like productive aspect of you. They don't really pay attention too much to your finances. They just see like, the things you buy as like, wow, like this person, like pile one's really like creative, and like they're always like going about something new. I don't know how to describe it. It's just kind of like this vibe that like, they see that you are purchasing things, and that they see that like you're very like abundant financially, but it's like they very much understand that in order to do that, you have to be very creative, and you have to be like very like meticulous with your money, and very like expansive. Somebody who's always investing, somebody who's always thinking about their next step forward. And I very much feel like that's what women see, is like how you're able to constantly keep your money flowing, and how you're able to constantly move forward with your life. So yeah, what do men think of pile one? Four of Cups. Yeah, you definitely... Okay. I do know that I said that you come off as... Wow, my freaking plant's in the way. Move. There we go. But I definitely feel as if though, like, you are somebody who is, like, not... You're very prone to ruminating, and you're very prone to thinking. I feel like despite the fact that you come off as like a very flighty person, it definitely seems as if though between each takeoff, you take a really big moment to kind of think about your options. And I feel like you're a very meditative person. You're somebody who is very calculated, and you're somebody who is very careful about what they're going to do next. And I feel like there's also kind of this alluring, daydreaming energy about you, pile one. It is the number 4, and I feel like obviously number 4 correlates to Cancer. And it makes me think that like of this cardinal energy, and also a little bit of like fixed energy. So like Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius, and then like Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra. But I especially pick up on a lot of Capricorn, Cancer, and Scorpio, especially like with the back card. Obviously the back card isn't a water-based card, or like, water element, it's an air element. But I very much feel like this pertains to the, like, because in the back card, it talks about how, the bat isn't afraid to awaken to dark things, and, accept dark things, and, go into darkness. And that's such a Scorpio thing. So, whether or not you have these signs in your chart, my point is that I feel like you very much embody these themes. I feel like you embody a lot of Scorpio themes and a lot of cardinal themes of like moving forward and being very calculated about your next move, and moving very carefully, and even a little bit silently, because I feel like you're not like somebody to, how do I say, you're not very impulsive, and you're not very much, you don't like taking too many risks. And when you do, you're very calculated and organized about it. And men definitely see that about you. What do women think of pile one? We have Queen of Swords. Ooh, yeah, women definitely see you as like intimidating, or like somebody who is very critical. And I feel like you have a very sharp judgment, and you're probably very good at giving advice. And I probably, like, that probably definitely plays into the whole thing about how I said that women feel safe confiding in you. I feel like both genders feel that way, but I feel like women especially are like, wow, like pile one is just so good at keeping secrets, and they're they're very good at giving advice. And I feel like women definitely see that in you. It's more so than the men. And also with the Queen of Swords, I feel like, you're also a little bit like critical, and maybe women kind of see that maybe you're a little bit hard on yourself at times. I feel like you're your own worst critic, but I do feel like it isn't like out of pity. It's not like, oh my gosh, like I could be doing so much better. I feel like they don't see it that way. They see it as like, I could be doing better. I could be doing more than this. Like, why did I have to react like this? I feel like you have like a very like professional or like a very detached perspective on a lot of different things. I feel like women see you as kind of detached and see you as somebody who kind of just doesn't take things personally and treats everything kind of like business. And I feel like you're definitely somebody who I just get like a lot of detached vibes, and I wouldn't be surprised if like both genders have had trouble reading you, or they say that you're kind of mysterious, or somebody who is just kind of like difficult to see what they're doing. It's like it just doesn't seem as if though like you're never fully telling the truth. And not to say that you're lying, but it's just like, you're very careful about who you tell your business to, and I think that both genders kind of see that. But I think that I think that men see that a little bit more, just because like the Four of Cups is like a very like daydreamy energy, and it's a little bit more personal than the Queen of Swords. I feel like women see you like as like a more open person, or somebody who is a little bit more like, open to telling their business, or telling their next move, or being a little bit more expressive of their opinions and feelings. But I feel like men just see that like you're constantly thinking, and you're constantly like a little bit more reserved, I'd say. I think men definitely see you as more reserved and more like, careful, and a little bit more to yourself, if you know what I mean. Like you come off more of a loner to men, but to women you just seem more authoritative, and somebody who is more little bit controlling, and a little bit like, like of a go-getter. Like obviously both, I've said that both sides see you as a go-getter, but I think that women see more of that from you. I feel like men are a little bit more confused, and they don't really know what to think of you. They don't really know what it is you're doing, but they do know that whatever it is that you're doing, you're very careful about it, and you're very good at decision making when it comes to it. Yeah. What else do men think of pile one? We also have Two of Swords. Interesting. Another card about decision making, and another card about like ruminating. I feel like maybe men see you as a little bit indecisive, or a little bit like a little bit daydreamy. How do I say? Like, I know I keep saying daydreamy, but like I also keep yawning in this pile, so like you could be a very overworked person, or somebody who is very tired. But that makes me think, like, with the back card and the Two of Swords, not gonna lie, I feel like men see you as a little bit overworked, and somebody who is like really indecisive. Somebody like, you are the type of person that like no one should ever ask you like, where should we eat, because you will be like, I don't know, where do you want to eat? You're that person. I feel like men see you as that person. I feel like with men, you answer their questions with a question. You know what I mean? And or like you kind of, maybe you play a little bit coy, or play dumb, in the sense that like maybe like you're a little bit like difficult to talk to with men, or like men see you as somebody very like kind of like alluring to talk to. It's like you're very charming to men, and like you're very like confusing and like kind of like perplexing. I feel like when men talk to you, they don't really understand how they're talking to you, and like they don't really understand how the conversation's playing out, because I feel like you're very good at like playing your words out with men, and kind of like twisting the conversation around and controlling it. And maybe sometimes like men feel like confused or like perplexed. They're just like, girl, like, what is this person talking about? Like, who is this person? It's like they leave the conversation, and you said so much, yet they're left with a lot of questions. They're like, Pile 1 literally just talked to me for 45 minutes, but like, I still don't even know their fave color or their fave restaurant. It's like, I told them my fave restaurant, and I told them my fave color, but like somehow they completely avoided that question. And I feel like because of that, like, maybe sometimes you can come off as like a little bit of a gaslighter. Not to say that you are a gaslighter or that you are gaslighting, but I feel like, like that whole concept of like having your reality kind of like, like warped or like changed, or like, confusing. It's like that concept, like when men talk to you, Pile 1, they're like, they don't like time suddenly speeds up and they suddenly lose touch with their own reality. And when they leave the conversation, they're just kind of like, it feels like a mirage, you know, like they're like, girl, like what was that? I don't know, but I feel like they find that very charming and very attractive and very like, you know, like especially if like you are a flight, like this whole flighty thing, man. I'm literally getting twisted up on my words because I'm telling you, it literally feels that way. Like, who are you, Pile One? But it's just like when people talk to you, like when men talk to you, they're just like, you come and go. Like, you come in and you leave just as fast as you came in. Like, that, like, it literally feels like a fever dream. Like, men feel like they're like, especially like if you like are talking to someone very briefly or somebody like sees you very briefly, you know? Like, this red's really sticking out to me. I feel like you have a very special relationship with the color red. Wow. Okay. It's very interesting because on this side it's very red, but on this side it's very blue. You know what I mean? At least with the oracle cards. And I feel like men, I think, see you as a little bit more hot-headed, whereas women see you as a little bit more emotional and maybe a little bit clammed up because, like, you know, the color blue rules over the throat chakra and then color red rules over the root chakra. So I feel like men see you as a little bit more grounded and a little bit more flighty, a little bit more hesitant to commit, especially emotionally. But women see you as like more committed, more emotional, and a little bit more, how do I say, like expressive or like reluctant to express. Women can clearly get a good read on you and they clearly know how you're feeling and like how like you're doing. It's like they can't quite put their finger on it, and I don't think women would be able to tell you like verbally or like clearly express to you like, hey, like this is how you're feeling and stuff. They just know something's up, but they don't really know how to put it into words. It's a little bit ironic because I just burped right there. Sorry, that was kind of gross. Excuse me. But anyways, I don't know, like I just get a lot of different vibes from this back card here because like it's just like really fascinating, File One, because it seems as if though like you come and go with men's lives. You know, they're like, girl, like, you know, like you come in and suddenly they lose touch with reality. It's been like 3 hours and then you leave and they're like, oh snap, it's already 11:43 and like I met them at like what 7 o'clock. I didn't even know that much time passed, and it's just like time with you from a man's perspective is literally a blur, but like time with you from a woman is just a little bit more like clear, you know. It's a little bit more like little less confusing. How else do women think of Pile One? We also have Knight of Wands. Yeah, this definitely plays into the whole go-getter thing again. I feel like I keep seeing the 6 of Cups on the bottom of the deck after every time I've shuffled. And I feel like, especially on the women's side, I feel like women see you as like a little bit more of a nostalgic person. I feel like women see you as a little bit more attached and a little bit more flighty because you're prone to attaching, especially like within relationships and like emotional situations. I feel like women, maybe Pile One, they see you as like somebody who's flighty because you're gonna get attached. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you very much know that you're like, you can get very attached to people and situations, and because of that, it's like you have conditioned yourself to be kind of a flighty person or somebody a little bit non-committal because of that fear of attachment. I feel like you have like a deeply seated fear of commitment, or like you're somebody who's kind of afraid of commitment because you know when you commit, you literally go all the way and like you take it very seriously. Like you're a for lifer kind of person. You're the type of person where it's like, if we ain't talking about marriage, I can't do it, y'all. And I feel like women see right through you with that. They see that like you're a very non-committal person, but they see that because like you're trying to protect yourself. And with this Knight of Wands here, it kind of explains everything. We have a lot of like fire and air here, so you could be like an Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, or a Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. We also have some water there, but I feel like water is definitely spread amongst your like outer planets, or like it's kind of like you have the houses in your chart. It definitely seems as if though this water energy is a little bit more scattered throughout your chart, perhaps within like your houses, or like, you know, like maybe you have like 4th, 8th, or 12th house influence in your chart, especially within like the big three, but especially 8th house, since I was talking about Scorpio earlier. But that's the extra confirmation if you need it. But I definitely like, this is just like a charming pile one. Like, it's just like so alluring. Like, I feel like you're such an interesting person to talk to, especially from the men's side. Men see you as somebody who is very fun to talk to and somebody who like has something to say. They know that you're biting your tongue, and they know that like if they can get you into a conversation, it'll literally be like never ending. I feel like women have a blast talking with you, and I feel like the conversation, it's like you're a little bit more fluid. When you talk to women, I feel like you're a little bit more fluid and a little bit more open, and women see that about you, and maybe because of that you come off as a little bit blunt or a little bit like unfiltered or unhinged. So maybe like you say a little bit of things with women that they're like, oh, like, did that really just come out of one's mouth? Like, slow down there, buddy. Like, you're a little bit bold. Women definitely see you as a little bit bold. Men see you as a little bit more reserved and clammed up, but like in kind of like a I don't want to talk to you kind of way, or like a please stop talking to me kind of way. Like, I feel like you're a little bit abrasive with men, or a little bit like maybe even flirtatious, and kind of like you like to mess around with men. Like, how do I say that? Like, you're somebody like who really likes to like F with them, like you like to really get inside their head and make them be like, girl, like, what is going on? It's just like you like messing around with them, like you like picking apart at their brains. I feel like you're very like men just see that and they're just like, oh my gosh, like it's just like you have a bite to you when like men see that like there's a bite to you, and like they like, I don't know how to describe it, like they're just like very fascinated by you, and it's like you kind of play hard to get, or like you play kind of coy or kind of like a little bit goofy, and they're just like, girl, like who is file one, you know what I mean? But women definitely see you as like a little bit more like willing, and a little bit more like open and more compassionate, definitely. But men kind of see like the opposite side of you. Like, I feel like you very much are compassionate towards everybody, but like men kind of see that like you're a little bit confusing to talk to, as I've said. How else do men think of pile one? How else do men think of pile one? I feel called to take this one. It's like in the middle. We have 2 of Pentacles. Actually, I don't want to put it there. It's kind of not the vibe. With the 2 of Pentacles, it definitely seems as if though, like, oh, we also have Knight of Swords. I want to point that out. With the 2 of Pentacles here, I feel like men see that, like, this goes back to, like, this financial thing. I feel like men see you as very financially abundant, or somebody who's very good at managing their time and money. I feel like you make an effort to always show up, or you constantly are making an effort to stay consistent. And, like, obviously she seems to be, like, really going at it. Like, this figure and the 2 of Pentacles here, it really does seem as if, though, like, she's managing, but it's clear she's a little bit of a klutz. I feel like maybe men see you as, like, that, like a little bit of klutz, or maybe like men see you as kind of clumsy, or somebody who's very like, once again, flighty, somebody who's very airy, and somebody who's also very like focused on being mentally stimulated. I feel like good conversations just get you rattled by one. I feel like if it isn't a good conversation, you are not doing it. You're like, I can't. I feel like men see you as somebody who gets very bored easily, somebody who lacks patience, and somebody who is just kind of like, I'm thinking like, that person, someone who's tapping their foot, someone who's shaking their leg, somebody who's like, like on the edge of their seat, somebody who is just literally ready to go after the next thing, somebody who's ready to start a new project, especially in regards to career and finances. I feel like men in the workplace, or like anywhere that like, like you have to show up consistently, they can kind of see that like you're very like quick, and you're very like focused on one thing. I feel like you're like always like minding your own business, or they kind of see that like in order to talk to you, they kind of have to invade in your world. They have to invade in your own little world, or they have to kind of like, like really make an effort to push talking to you, or they have to like be the pursuer, or somebody who has to like make the first move, because I feel like you are somebody who's very focused. And I feel like those that have experienced you making the first move, it's like very alluring, and they're just like very like shocked. I feel like if you have made a move on people, pile one, especially like, like in regards to men, they're just like very shocked, they're very surprised by you, and they're very surprised of what you're like. And I just feel like they see you as like, I keep drawing up the blanks when it comes to like the men's side, because it really does seem that way. I feel like men draw up constant blanks when it comes to thinking about you, or even having feelings for you, like whether it be romantic or platonic. Like, it doesn't matter what the context of the feelings are. The point is the feelings themselves are very like nuanced and very confusing, and they're just like, I don't really know, like they literally are like, I don't know how to feel about pile one. Right. What do women think of pile one? What else do women think of pile one? We have 7 of Pentacles. Yeah, it definitely seems as if though, like, I don't know, like, hold on. And then we have 4 of Pentacles. We have a lot of Pentacles in this reading. You're definitely somebody who's very career obsessed, or somebody who is very like focused on their career. And I think that both genders really see that. But I think that women see a little bit more of that from you than men. I feel like men just see that like you have money, but women see like what you're doing for the monies, and they're very impressed. And at the 7 of Pentacles, perhaps in like work, or like, like once again, like showing up to things consistently, they see that you're somebody who is very consistent, or somebody who is a very hard worker. And I noticed that like this figure is focused on the Pentacles in their work. So I very much feel like women see that about you. They see that you're very focused on your career. And I feel like you're a no nonsense person when it comes to work. You take it very seriously. And I feel like women see that very serious side of you. They see that you just in general are a very like focused and like detached, serious person with that cardinal energy. But then men kind of see you as a little bit more like alluring, and a little bit more like daydreamy and mysterious. And I like I said, I think that both sides see that you're a very mysterious person, but women kind of get like a better read on you, and they get like a better spiel on you and what kind of person you are. Men literally draw up blanks. They just like, they see that you're very grounded, and they see that you're very much focused and like worried about your own things, and you don't really care for them, if you will, or you're not very concerned about them, and they see that about you. And because of that, they see you as very alluring. With the 4 of Cups, they may even like, want you like in any context. They want to talk to you, they want to get to know you, they want to be friends with you, maybe they want to be with you in a more romantic sense. But they just kind of see you as like, they kind of covet you, like they find you very like interesting. They want to like get to know you more, and they want to like see you more. It's like if you literally pass a dude by like on the street, they're like, who was that? They have to do a double take to look at you again. Whereas women, they're just like, oh, like just them. Like, women aren't as surprised by you as men are. But I do think that's in a good way, because like women kind of, like I said, they get a very good read on you. But yeah, that's all I have for you, pile one. That's all I'm picking up on. I feel like if I go any further, it'll literally just be me repeating the same things over and over again. But, to save you that time, I'm going to end it right here. If the reading resonated, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me how it resonated, because I've never done a reading like this ever in my whole life, especially with like this comparison situation here. But yeah, other than that, like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I love you. Bye. Hello, pile 2. If you chose Poliwag, this is going to be your reading. A little bit about Poliwag. It is a water type. It was introduced in Gen 2, I believe. Could be wrong. And it is the pre-evolved form of Poliwrath and Poliwhirl. Anyways, so for the oracle cards, I pulled 2 for both men and women, like how they perceive you. So let's just get right into it. For the men's side, we have the Thinking Woman and Cheetah, the cheetah. And then for the women's side, we have Door to Personal Healing and Happiness. And then we have Fish. So right off the bat, first of all, you don't have to be a woman or like identify as a woman, but like with the Thinking Woman card here on the men's side, I definitely do feel like with the Cheetah card, men tend to like seem to perceive you as like a very like pursuant person, or somebody who seems to always be chasing something with this cheetah card, because you know cheetahs are like quick and they like are always on the go. And I feel like you're very quick and maybe even a little bit witty. I feel like men see you like they seem to think that you have a very good sense of humor, or you're somebody who is a very like, I don't know, like I sense this energy of like it's surprising that like you have a sense of humor, you know? Like I feel like at first glance you seem as though you are a very serious person, somebody who is very meditative and somebody who very much contemplates their every single move, and you're very meticulous, you know? But I feel like once men actually meet you or they get the privilege to talk to you, they're like, wow, like I didn't expect pile one to like be so like fun and like fury and like just like a lot of fire energy, you know? I feel like they see you as like a very like ambitious person, and maybe even a little bit thrill of the chase, even because like I'm not gonna lie, like when I was just about to start filming, I saw a cheetah and like that made me think of cheater. And like I feel like men, like, not saying that you are a cheater, but like it's just like men see that like you accomplish so much or that you get so much done that they perceive you like they're like they have to be cheating. Pile one has to be cheating. There's no other way that they have accomplished so much. There's no way that they have that many followers on Instagram. They bought those all. Like, there's no way that they have like actual Gucci. Someone bought that for them, you know? It's just like, I feel like men low key be jealous of you. It's like, I feel like they'd be like, girl, like, how did Pile 1 accomplish this much? You know, like, how are they doing that? Whereas women, they see you as more of like a fluid person. I feel like women definitely feel like, you know, at first glance or when they get to talk to you, it's just like you come off as like a very like daydreamy person, someone who's kind of like in their own world, you know. You probably are prone to spacing out, or you're somebody who seems to be kind of like, I'm not sure, it's just like how men perceive you at first glance is kind of how women kind of perceive it as they get to know you. But like with men, it seems to be kind of like flipped, you know. Like I feel like it's kind of opposites, because at the door to personal healing and happiness, I definitely feel like women see you as like a more emotional person, or somebody who is more go with the flow, somebody who is a little bit less controlling. Maybe when you approach women, you're a little bit less aggressive, or like you're a little bit more open with them. But I feel like with men, you're more calculated, or you definitely come off that way, whether you mean to be or not. And I feel like they see you as like a very quick-minded person. Like men definitely feel like you're very quick on your feet, especially when in regards to like conversation and like business. I feel like if you work with men in your career, if like you have a job, I feel like they see you as like a very quick person. Like you're very like, I don't know how to describe it. Like you're very decisive, and you're very like, you make your mind up pretty quickly, and when you do, you're pretty stubborn about it, I'd say. And maybe like you're also a little bit impulsive to men. Like I feel like men see you as a little bit impulsive. Like they just see that like you're always on something, or that you're always going after something, or you always have your eye on something, you know. And I feel like they very much see that about you, and they're like, Pile One's always onto something. Pile One's always like looking for something, you know. And I feel like women kind of see you as like definitely more compassionate and more of a night owl with this crescent shape here. I definitely feel like maybe women see you as a little bit nocturnal, or like kind of like a nighttime energy, if you will. And maybe you dress pretty dark, and I feel like women notice that about you. I feel like they notice that like your fashion sense is very like maybe a little bit gothic, or like, how do I say, like dreamy. I feel like you have an unconventional way of dressing, and women definitely pick that up about you. They're very like perceptive about that. Like I feel like women definitely notice right off the bat that like you're a very creative and like even emotional person. Someone who is like very like inspired. That's the word. Like you come off as very inspired. You come off as like very go with the flow, and because of the fish card. And I just feel like it seems as if though like women see you from a more like, how do I say, like creative and like standpoint, and like they see that like, I keep saying like, I keep drawing up blinks with the women's side. Usually with pile 1 I was drawing up blinks with the men's side, but in this pile I feel like men get a better read on you, but I feel like women kind of draw up blinks a lot. I feel like to women, like you're kind of confusing, or you're a little bit like, how do I say, like alluring. It's just like women can't seem to pin down what it is that your goals are. I keep wanting to say like the fourth 8th and 12th house, especially in the moon. You could be like a Pisces moon or a 12th house moon, and you could also have like Pisces amongst your chart. And whether or not you have those placements, I feel like the point is you exude a lot of that energy, especially 12th house energy. Like you come off as like a very like retreating person to women. Like you come off as like very like not kind of withdrawn, or kind of like in your own little world, or a little bit reluctant to tell what's truly on your mind. And I feel like women are like, who is pile 2? They're like, girl, like I don't know what to make of this. Who, you know what I mean? Like it's just like I feel like I'm going in circles when I'm describing the women's side, and that really, it does seem like how it is with women and how they perceive you, because it's like they seem to have so little to work with, but they're so like obsessed with drawing a conclusion and like properly explaining and putting their finger on is that what it is about you is so like sticking out to them, or like so like beautiful to them. Because like I do think that like this looks like a koi fish to me, and like obviously like when we think of koi fish, like we think of like beauty, we think of like gardens, like oh my gosh, like koi fish, like it's like a sign of like luxury and status. Like when people say koi fish, you're like, oh wow, that makes me think of like like Asia and like gardens and like cherry blossoms. Like that's like status. Like it's very like refined and very like even royal. I feel like women see you as that like somebody very royal, and someone who's like very much like sweeping, like dusting off their shoulder. It's just like they're very like intrigued by you, and they very much are like intrigued by your regal stance and how you're able to carry yourself, especially emotionally. I feel like if you do identify as a woman, I think that other women are very like intrigued by your own journey and how you're able to make decisions for yourself and how you've really like grown. Whereas on the men's side, I feel like they see you as like a more contemplative person. They definitely don't like pick up on like how receptive and like how emotionally like withdrawn you are. I feel like maybe like you get along better with men, or like they bring a more like flamboyant part of you out. I feel like with men you're a little bit more like outgoing and a little bit more like talkative and like a little bit more, how do I say, like you're willing to talk more and you're more expressive, whether it be emotionally or like mentally. Like you're just very expressive around that, and they definitely see that about you. And I feel like something about your eyes, I also feel like men see that like you're kind of always staring off, or you're looking at something, and I feel like they feel like you're kind of always like not saying everything completely on your mind. I feel like they kind of notice that like you're talking and you're expressing your thoughts and feelings, but they can tell that like you're not picking up, like you're not telling everything. You're telling at least like 99% of the truth, but that 1%, there's something that you're hiding. And I think that men sense that about you with this thinking woman card here. I'm imagining someone talking, like I'm talking to someone and they're just kind of spacing out, or like like maybe we're in a group of friends and they're just kind of like off, like staring off in a space, like daydreaming. And it definitely seems as if though like you're a very daydreamy person to men, but they also see you as like you're kind of like the pot's waiting to boil over for you to make your next move, for you to do something different. And in that sense, I think that you're very unpredictable to men, because like they don't really know what it is that you're looking for next, or what you're looking to like like hyperfixate on next. And I think that like if you do have like male friends, or like like friends that identify as men, they definitely see you as like somebody who's like suddenly out of nowhere, you're like, I'm gonna do this. Like you'll be like working a job for like 5 years, and then one day you just like call them, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna go pursue this. Like, or I'm gonna just quit my job at this store and just go be an entrepreneur. And I feel like men see that about you, and like their jaw drops to the floor. They're like, oh my god, Pyle, when I was not expecting that from you. And for men that like just meet you, they definitely see you as like a little bit flighty, or somebody who is kind of like quick on their feet, and somebody who's like, I'm sensing like someone who has like one foot out the door constantly. I feel like if like I don't think that many men have had the like chance to actually get into an engaging conversation with you, because you are so quick. Like a man will catch you in the store and like you're kind of like slowly moving your legs towards like your destination, like you're trying to leave, and you're like slowly moving towards the exit, and you're like nodding your head ferociously, and they're like, hey, like want to get together sometime, like what's your fave color, like I don't know, like you do watch Netflix too? And you're like, yeah, I do I gotta like go, like I left everything at home. Like, I gotta go home and make dinner. And you're just kind of like, like you're ready to go. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like men see that about you. And I feel like men have a hard time kind of locking you down, or like not like locking you down. Not like, not like lock, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're just like, they're trying to get a hold of you. I feel like you're a little bit of a procrastinator, or somebody who's kind of, I think women definitely see, like, both sides see this about you, but women definitely pick up on this a lot more. But you may be somebody who procrastinates a lot, or you're somebody who's constantly in a rush, or somebody who's kind of like always trying to go somewhere, like you're always running late, like you pull up to your job like 1 minute before you have to clock in. They're like, oh my gosh, where were you? And you're like, and like you literally had to take a breath and be like, sorry, I woke up late, my alarm didn't work, and then I had to like drop off my dog at the freaking babysitter, and then I had to call my plant sitter to like make sure my plants are like, being seated, and then like I had to call my mom because she said that she wanted to send me some checks so that I can start writing myself checks to send to my other bank account. And then like, you know what I mean? It's just like you're always running late, and it's just like it seems as if though like you're always inconvenienced. I sense a lot of earth energy from that, and also some fire energy. Also Aquarius, because like I feel like Aquarius is, no, scratch all of that. Air signs. I feel like you have prominent air in your chart, like Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini, because I swear, especially Libras and Aquarius, y'all are always in a hurry. Oh my god. I know so many Libra moons, and they're just always in a hurry. Like I feel like you're the kind of person that really over exaggerates, like I feel like both sides pick up on this, but like I think that men pick up on this a little bit more from you. But you're very like, you speak of a lot of hyperboles, and you're very like exaggerated. Like, for example, I have a Libra moon like partner, and I remember one day he was like, should I carry this pair of shoes to the gym and then change there? And he was like, no, but like I don't want to carry like 5 million shoes. And I love telling that story, but it's just so like goofy, and it's just like I feel like that's very much your vibe, like I have another Libra friend, and we'll just like, I remember one time we were waiting for something for literally like 10, we were waiting for wings, I think. And then she was like, why is this taking like 10,000 years? And I was like, girl, it's only been like 10 minutes. Or like, I don't know, like my friend, like she'll like, my bestie in the whole world, like we'll text each other, and she'll be like, why are you taking millions of years to respond? Like that vibe, I feel like men especially see you as like a very exaggerated person, or somebody who's kind of like really dramatic, and kind of have like a flair for the arts. So yeah, let's get right into the tarot. This is the Ethereal Visions Tarot. I'm so excited. I don't know why, but I've just been thinking about this deck a lot. I also feel like men kind of see you as like a fast talker. I'm picking up on that because throughout this whole reading, I feel like I've been like racing. Like, I don't know. I also think that men probably see you as like very like kind of like competitive. I think that I feel like women see you as like a little bit more like fluid, more go with the flow, not as competitive, but I feel like men definitely see that about you. I feel like with men especially, they kind of see you as maybe like bossy, or like kind of like controlling, or a little bit more like aggressive with like your take on leadership. I think with women you're a little bit more like submissive, and a little bit more like, flexible, and they definitely see that like about you, and they think that like you're very like fluid, like you're very easy to work with and talk to. But I feel like men, like there's a lot of friction there. It makes me think of like a square aspect in astrology, Yeah. What do men think of pile 1? Pile 2, sorry. What do men think of pile 2? We have Queen of Pentacles. You could have a very earthy aspect about you, like especially Taurus, but I feel like Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. I don't know why I forgot literally all the signs, but I feel like men, oh, interesting, because we also have the Queen of Wands down here. I definitely do think men see you as very kind of nurturing, or somebody who is like very giving. I feel like men see you as like not a pushover, but like it kind of gives me like tiger mom vibes, like very caring, but like in a very aggressive way, like you're like, I don't know, like this is the weirdest thing, but like you're cutting vegetables wrong. Like, have you seen that clip of Kendall Jenner like cutting vegetables extremely incorrectly? It's like you're the type of person with men that will like yell at them to fix it. Be like, why are you cutting the vegetables like that? And it comes off as like you're angry and like aggressive and crazy, but like deep down you're just like, come on, dude, like, don't do that. That's so dangerous. Like, please don't. And I feel like men kind of see that about you. They see that, like, you're very, like, aggressively caring. Like, I feel like you have, like, a very, like, abrasive or kind of like a straightforward approach to, like, I feel like you're a tough love kind of person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like men have kind of picked that up from you, that you're very, like, caring person. And I feel like maybe with men, like, a lot of your love language probably, or like your caring energy of, like, you know, the men that are probably closer to you, they kind of see that, like, it comes through more of, like, financial or, like, materialistic ways. And I feel like men also see you as very materialistic, you know, regardless of whether, like, how they know you, you know. It could just literally be a man passes you by in the grocery store. They see you as, like, very eccentric and somebody who's very materialistic. You know, you're very dressed up, you smell good, your hair is done up, your makeup's done up, you know. Like, I feel like they see you as very regal, and they see you as very, like, you are very, like, how do I describe it? You're very fierce, you know, like, and you're very, like, you very much understand how to carry yourself, and you're confident, you know. Men see you as very confident and see you as very, you know, fiery and productive, and somebody who very much goes after the things they want. And I don't know, Pile 2, like, I just, like, with them, like, from the man's perspective, it's just, like, you're very aggressive and straightforward and a little bit unpredictable. But on the women's side, you're a little bit more emotionally, like, distant and a little bit more withdrawn, mysterious, and alluring. And kind of like, you know, who is Pilot 2? Like, I feel like maybe you've also been susceptible to women talking about you negatively because, like, they're very curious about you. And I feel like women get, like, they kind of, like, want to poke fun at you, you know? So let's see. What do women think of Pile 2? How do women think of Pile 2? Oh, wow. 2 cards just flew out. We have 3 of Pentacles and Page of Pentacles. So it definitely seems as if, though, like, you're a very collaborative person. I think this goes back to, like, how you may come off as a little bit more submissive with women or a little bit more, like, yielding. We also have 2 of Swords. I definitely do feel as if, though, like, a lot of the women that kind of, like, have been able to get a good read on you are probably through work or through, like, I want to say, like, you're maybe susceptible to attracting drama through women because with the 3 of Pentacles, like, I don't know what it is about it, because I just talked about how, like, you know, you may have had some situations of women talking about you, and I feel like with this 3 of Pentacles and Page of Pentacles, it's like they're very much, like, I feel like maybe women have, like, caused a lot of drama with you or kind of been like, but that's because, like, they don't really know that much about you, and they kind of get frustrated. And it seems as if, though, like, women are very prone to, like, drawing up their own conclusions about you or kind of, like, you know, like, talking about you, especially if they see, like, how you interact with men, you know. I feel like they see that, like, you very much talk with men a lot, or that you're very, like, charismatic with men, and that they're very charismatic with you, and maybe you're even a little bit flirty, whether you mean to be or not. Especially if you do have, like, major air placements in your chart. I feel like all air signs are pretty flirtatious. And I feel like women definitely see that about you, and they're kind of like, girl, who are they? Why are they flirting with literally every guy they talk to? Like, oh my gosh, you know, like it's very much like hand covering the mouth and, like, gossiping kind of thing, you know? It's like, you know, that, like, look where someone's, like, doing this with their, like, they're covering their mouth and, like, talking to someone, they're, like, looking at you. I feel like that's kind of the vibe that women, you may pick up that up from women. You probably already know this, Pile 2, but I feel like they kind of see that, like, you're always focused on your own thing and that you're kind of always doing your own thing. And I don't know what it is about it. Like, women just, like, get a kick of, like, bringing you down because you're very much doing the work that, like, they can't do for themselves, or that they are, like, not willing to do for themselves, you know? It's easier to dismiss you than it is for them to acknowledge themselves. But I also feel like, obviously, this isn't all of your interactions and relations with women, but I feel like I said, this is for the women that get a chance to, like, really see you, especially from, like, a working standpoint. I feel like the women that do this are probably more, like, professional, like, you're probably more professionally relationed with them, you know, like, you met them through work, you met them through, like, a club, through school, or through something, like, community based, you know. It doesn't have to be those things, but something, like, you know, where it's more like the relationship is a little bit more, like, structured and a little bit more, like, detached. But I feel like you're probably not friends with that many women because of that. And I feel like even if you are friends with women, they see you as, like, very emotionally yielding and someone who's very secretive and kind of, like, not willing to tell everything to them, whereas with men, like, they see you as very straightforward with your emotions and like your feelings, and emotions and feelings, girl, bye, your feelings. But you know, they see you as very straightforward, and they see you as somebody who is very transparent. So what else do men think of pile 2? I'm having a lot of fun with this pile, honestly. Like, not that I don't have fun with the other piles, but like, you know, I don't know. I before I get into the piles, I'm like, girl, like, I don't feel like doing it. But then I get into it, and I'm like, girl, this is fun. Maybe it's a Taurus moon thing. I don't know. Oh, wow. We got the 3 of Cups. It just kind of plopped out by itself. It definitely seems as if though, like, once again, like, oh, and King of Wands. It definitely seems as if though, like, men see you as very friendly and very outgoing. And I feel like maybe you also participate in a lot of, like, friend groups, or you're very it's interesting because we have a 3 on both sides, but what's sticking out to me is that with the 3 of Cups, it's on the men's side, but then the 3 of Pentacles on the women's side. Once again, it just boils down to the fact that I feel like with men, you're more emotionally open. They see that you're very emotional. They see that you're like very like friendly and very like, you know, like welcoming. But women kind of see you as a little bit more like detached and maybe even a little bit abrasive. But like I said, men with this 3 of Cups here, they see you as very collaborative and very fun, you know, probably life of the party kind of vibes, you know. It's like in a group of guys, you'll be like the life of the party, you know, you'll be the reason everyone's laughing and having fun, whether like whatever gender you identify as, pile 2. And I've definitely seen as if though, like, you may also like be like that one friend who's like always looking out for the other friends. I feel like men kind of see that, like, you're always like, you know, like if you were to go out with like a bunch of friends, like you'd be the one that's kind of sober, or you're kind of the one that's like, you know, not really getting crazy, you know. It's like you don't need to get into things, or you don't need to be under substances or anything like that to be a fun person. And like, I don't know, like, men just like see you as like a very like they see you as like a party person, you know. But then women kind of see you as like the exact opposite. They see you as somebody who's like not down. You're like, cha, I'm trying to stay in, light a candle, read a book, and like meditate. Like, hey girl, hey, like, oh yeah, like Karina Garcia, like, let me watch slime videos, you know. Like, you're very like, to women, like, they don't see you as like a party person, you know. They see you as like very kind of like domestic, or somebody who is very like kind of like a homebody, honestly. And they just don't see you as that kind of person. Also, with the Page of Pentacles, I feel like women kind of notice, like, especially if they get to know you, they kind of notice that like you're always coveting something, or you're always looking for something, or you're always like looking at something. I'm noticing that like he's like looking down, like as if you're like looking at a phone. Maybe with women, they kind of notice that you're always looking at your phone, or like you're always like on something, or you're always like inspecting something, or you're somebody who is very like thorough. They definitely see you as a very meticulous person and somebody who likes to get all the corners, you know. Like, if women see you do a job or like complete a task, you do it to the very end, and they definitely notice that. Men obviously notice that too, but I think women more so, because like I feel like with women, they're especially observant of you, because like I said, they're very like intrigued by you, and they notice that like you're kind of like mysterious and a little bit like I said, withdrawn, you know, and like very distant. And they're just like, because of that, they're very hyper aware of what you're doing, and they're very much watching your every move. So that's how they're able to kind of pick up on the fact that like you may always be looking at your phone, you're really thorough, you're always inspecting something, or you're always coveting something, you know, like you're always wanting something, or you're always like changing things, you know. I don't feel as if though they notice that like you're always wanting something, but they just notice that like you're always changing, and like, you know, that leads them to believe like, oh, pile 2 is always looking for something new, you know. For example, like, oh, you smell different today, pile 2. And that makes them think like, wow, they're always like looking for new scents, you know. And it's just like they change scents in like 3 days, and each day they had a completely different scent, you know. So it's like, oh my gosh, how are they going through so much like perfume? Or like they'll notice that you're changing your style constantly. They're like, oh my gosh, like pile 2 is always like buying new clothes. You know, like just things like that. I like at least a material perspective, because it is the Pentacles, because they don't really get to know that much about you at an emotional or like a more deeper level, you know, because like I said, like you're more withdrawn with them. What else do women think of pile 2? What else do women think of pile 2? The Devil. Wow. You may have major Capricorn placements in your chart. This is like, I think, the first major arcana I've pulled today. And then we have 6 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. women definitely see you as like a very physical person. They find you, especially if like there are women that are like, you know, into whatever you identify as, they see you as very sexually, like physically alluring. They see you as like very like, you know, like you know, like if you are a man, like you are like, or you identify as a man, like you definitely are a little bit more built. You are more like bigger, or like, you know, basically what I'm trying to say is like, regardless of what gender you are, like, you know, like I feel like you come off as very like sensualized by women, or like very like sexualized, you know, like a lot of people probably have crushes on you. A lot of people probably like you or have fallen for you. And I think that women very much know this, you know, if they don't even like know, like if they aren't told like, hey, these people like pile 2, they very much notice like, oh wow, I see the way they look at pile 2. You know what I'm saying here, pile 2? Y'all know what I'm saying, like but they very much see you as very alluring. Obviously, the devil card is about like bad habits and like addictions. So like, you know, that may come off in this reading. Like it may come off to them. Like maybe pile 2, like you have vices, or you're very much like a physical like craver, like physical pleasures craver. That's the way to say it. Like somebody who's like always looking for the next best thing physically, you know, like it doesn't have to be like anything of the sort. Like it doesn't have to be anything like sexual, but you know, like maybe you drink a cup of coffee every morning and women see that, or like, you know, maybe you're like buying wine or something like that. It's like I feel like women, for some of you, they pick up on your vices, especially if you do have Pisces in your chart, or like 12th house influence. I feel like that particular sign is very susceptible to like vices and kind of like, you know, like addictions, you know. And it doesn't have to be like substance related, you know. That could be just a message for some of you, or like not at all of you, but like, you know what I mean, that kind of theme of like relying on something, or being addicted to something, or also just like being very alluring and being addicting, you know. I feel like people kind of see that they're always trying to talk to you, especially like how I've been talking about how women get obsessed with you, or like how they're always trying to like, you know, figure you out. And I definitely do think that plays into this whole addiction theme here. They may get addicted to finding more out about you, especially like in regards to your interest and like what you want to do, for those that aren't like blatantly hating on you. And I think they're just very fascinated by you. You know, they're just like, girl, like, who is pile 2? You know, like I keep asking that question because that's honestly the best way to put it. And with the 6 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, it's just like they also see you as like a very fair person, and they don't understand it. You know, they don't understand why you make them so like, not angry, but kind of like frustrated, or kind of like, girl, like, what is this? You know, like, you know, they're serving me and men the same thing, but I still feel like I'm not getting enough. Like, I don't know. It's just like, that's literally like women literally just chalk up like, they can't chalk up a conclusion with you. How do men view pile 2? How do men view pile 2? 5 of Swords. They definitely see you as someone who's a little bit ruthless. And then 10 of Pentacles. They see you as somebody, okay, first of all, I feel like men, probably have some guy best friends. I'm not gonna lie, pile 2. But I definitely do think that with the 5 of Swords, men see you as like, kind of like a thinker. Like, once again, with this thinking woman card, they see you as like a thinker, you know, at your base core. Like, they see you as like a thinker. And they see that with this 5 of Swords. Like, what I keep mentioning about the 5 of Swords is like, it makes me think of like defeats, and it makes me think of cutting losses. I feel like men see that about you, that like you're very quick to cut your losses, and you're very quick to quit something when it isn't benefiting you anymore. You know, it's like, this job doesn't pay me enough, I'm quitting, or like this friend isn't treating me good enough, I'm dropping them, or like I don't want this item anymore, I'm gonna go pawn it. You know, like they see that about you. They see you as like a very ruthless person when it comes to cutting off and like conserving your energy, or like protecting your energy. They see you as somebody who is very self-protective. I think that's a huge trait of like the Queen of Pentacles here, and that like they just see you as like somebody who's very protective, especially with like all the earth and like air placements we have here. You know, it's like with the earth we have like Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, and then we have some Pisces, and we have just all water signs, but Pisces especially because it is a fish. But, you know, regardless of the case, what I'm trying to say here is that like you're a very dynamic person, especially to men, because they see you as very like a go-getter and very flamboyant and fiery and impulsive. But they also see that like when you do that, like you've clearly thought about it before you got, like the ball rolling, like before you kick it and get it rolling. It's like you're very contemplative and you're deeply meditate on things probably. And they notice that about you. And they, any man that sees you just like in public, they're just like, they can see that you're constantly thinking about your next move. You may always be looking around, or you're kind of like, like inspecting your surroundings. And I think that women see that about you too, but it's kind of confusing for them because they don't understand why you're inspecting or why you're so careful or why you're kind of like, looking at your phone. But like, truth is like, you're probably looking at your maps or something like that. But yeah, that's all I'm picking up for you, pile 2. If I keep going, I will literally just keep repeating myself and start wasting your time. So yeah. Let me know how the reading resonated, if it did. If it did, please like, comment, and subscribe. I literally love talking to you guys. I've also just never done a reading like this, so I'm very fascinated. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much for watching Pile 2. I love you. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. If you chose Shroomish, this is going to be your reading. So a little bit about Shroomish. It is a pure grass type, and it was introduced in Gen 3, and it is the pre-evolved form of Breloom. Yeah. Anyways, so I have some oracle cards here, and I pulled 2 for how men and women perceive you. So like 2 for men, 2 for women. So let's get right into it. Let's just get right into it. Honestly. So for your oracle cards, we have attachment for men and horse. And then for women, we got door to spirit and camel. So right at the bat, pile 3, I want to say that men get pretty attached to you with this attachment card. Initially, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, oh, like, is pile 3 like an attached person? But honestly, like, I feel like with this horse card being kind of like, the horse card is like, it's a very reliable animal. We ride on its back. Like, horses are a very reliable source of transformation, but when afraid, horses tend to run away, and in times where we really need them, they are not there. So within that context, it makes me feel like a lot of men have gotten attached to you because I feel like you're such a reliable person, and I feel like you're somebody who's very like sweet, especially with men, and I feel like men notice that about you, but I feel like men kind of like get attached to it, and maybe like you kind of notice, or like they start relying on you a little too much. You know what I mean? Like they start like expecting you to do everything for them, like whether it be like emotional or physical, like I don't know, like if you live with a man or like you've spent time with a man, it's like they start like getting used to how much you do. I feel like you're a very hardworking person. It shows them both sides that you're very hardworking and a very tenacious person, but men especially notice that about you. And they kind of notice that you're very caring and very giving, but I feel like in those times where you're not able to be there, or they're kind of like, like you're kind of like, girl, like I can't do this no more. I feel like men become like even a little bit freaked out, like even a little bit panicked. They're like, oh my god, like pile 3, like I need you, like I don't know, like it's just like I feel like men also like, if they just meet you or like they're just passing by in a store or like a mall or something, they kind of notice that like you seem to be independent. I feel like if you're within a group of friends, it's like you're kind of the one walking behind them, or you're kind of like a little bit more like reserved than them. Like obviously you're still having fun, not to say like you're like an oddball or something, but it's just like you're a more reserved individual, and you're a little bit more like sturdy when it comes to like your emotions and your responsibilities. You're very consistent, and men definitely see that about you, but they're kind of like, girl, like, I also feel like this could go kind of, it seems to be going 2 ways, like maybe some men have experienced you being overly attached, or, like you start to rely on them, and then it's like the same story, but like the other way around. But regardless of the case, the point is that like your relationship with men is pretty hot and cold and kind of like black and white, honestly. Like I want to say, especially with like the color of this card, literally black and white. I also feel like this figure in this card, let me just show you here. This figure seems to be holding a mask. I feel like that makes me feel like men see you as very mysterious or somebody who's kind of like confusing, you know? I think that like if it is a man that like just met you or like doesn't know that much about you or like, you know, like they just see you on social media or something, they see you as very like mysterious and very like enigmatic and somebody who is very like they drop a blank, honestly. They just really don't know what to make of you and like they seem to try to fill in the blanks by themselves. So maybe in that sense like men have like gossiped about you or you know like they've mentioned your name behind your back. And then with the women's side here, it definitely seems as if though women see you as like a little bit more patient. I feel like both sides kind of notice that you come off as a little bit more reserved and a little bit more earthy. The camel card's a fire card, but obviously like you know, I still get earthy vibes from the camel card here. I also noticed like there's a lot of crescents here, so you may have like a significant moon sign. Those have been coming up in a lot of the readings today. Honestly, I feel like there's a crescent like every other card, so I don't know why I'm like. But anyways, I feel like women kind of see you as like very patient and like very prone to burning out. I feel like women kind of see that like you have this incredible ability to keep carrying yourself and to keep working and to keep pushing yourself, especially in regards to like your beliefs. You know, you could be a very religious person or you could be somebody who's highly spiritual. And women definitely pick that up about you. Like you could read tarot yourself or you could like, you know, like do like a lot of divinations or like spiritual activities, you know, like maybe you're like really into crystals or like you're very like articulated person when it comes to like your beliefs, your feelings, and you're somebody who just like you know regardless of like whether or not you may be a religious person or like somebody who is like has a lot of beliefs, like you come off as that kind of person to women, you know, like you could also come off as a little bit superstitious and careful, especially in regards to this camel card here. I feel like they kind of notice that like you have this immense ability to weather a lot of circumstances. I feel like women can kind of pick up on the fact that maybe you've gone through a lot or you faced a lot of hardships or like you know kind of dealt with a lot of BS in your lifetime, and as a result they're kind of like wow, like pile 3 is just so resilient, so like tenacious, you know, and they're so like you know reliable and like also loyal to a fault. I feel like loyalty to a fault is definitely a theme in this reading, but I also feel like men kind of pick that up too, but I feel like they're a little bit more like attached to you than you are to them, and maybe in that sense you come off as a little bit detached. I feel like if you aren't detached then like you attract detached men, but it just seems as if though like it comes off as very like your relationship with men is probably a little bit like complex and probably really confusing to even you. I feel like with your relationship with men is a little bit more disorienting and confusing than your relationship with women. I feel like maybe with this Door to Spirit card, maybe women have been the result of you becoming more religious. Maybe like it was a woman who introduced you to divination or things like that, or you know, it's a woman that helps you like with guidance and you know overcoming things. Perhaps you have a special relationship with your mother because of that, especially with like the moon themes here. You know, regardless of what you identify as, I feel like you probably had like a very like special relationship with your mom, and maybe like a little bit of a detached or like little bit like unclear relationship with your father. And I feel like because of that like maybe men see you as kind of like standoffish or a little bit like reluctant, you know, because of horses, obviously their horses are very giving but only to those that it trusts. You know, you can't just get on a random horse's back without like its owner being there or something like that. You know, the horse is gonna freak out and be like, child, what is you doing? Get off my back. I'm not an amusement park ride. I'm not a carousel, even though there's horses on carousels. But you know, like I just feel like you're a little bit more reserved with men and a little bit more like reluctant with them. And I feel like you are very giving to them when you get to know them. But I feel like because of your experiences of them getting attached to or you getting attached to them, it's like kind of further the narrative that like you're a little bit like your relationship with men is a little bit hot and cold and probably kind of frustrating too, in the sense that it's like I like talking to men or I want to get along with them more or I want to be able to get into a relationship with them, but it's like I can't get along with them. They are so annoying. I don't know. I feel like you have kind of a hot and cold relationship with them and probably a love-hate too. Probably have a very love... My voice just cracked. Probably a very love-hate relationship with men. You're probably like really tired of them, but you also like are okay. You're just like, girl, I just feel like it's very like dynamic. And but with women, I do think that your relationship with them is a little bit more reserved. I definitely do feel as if though like women see you as like very like managerial, or somebody who's kind of like a leader, or somebody who's very like not controlling, but somebody who very much is decisive and also very persuasive. I feel like you're very good at persuading women and getting them to do things that you want to do, not because like you have ill intent, but because you want the best for them. I feel like you want the best for everybody, but I feel like women especially, like that side of you really comes out because like you're probably a little bit more nurturing. But with men, I feel like they don't really get to see that side of you too much. And I feel like when you do show your nurturing side, that's when they get all attached and annoying. I don't know, like, I just, like, want to aggressively address, like, the men in this pile. Because it definitely seems as if though your relationship with them is very, like, it's very complex and very, like, it's not necessarily overly bad or overly good. But it's just, like, your experiences with them have probably been a little bit, like, frustrating or a little bit like interesting. But I feel like to both genders, like you are very like reserved and you're very like careful, but I think that women see that about you. But I feel like with men, like you're a little bit more temperamental and a little bit more unpredictable. Let's get right into the tarot here. Very interested. I also feel like kind of tired doing this reading. I was just fine like a second ago and I was like really like vivacious in pile 2, but then like suddenly like I just got really drained. I feel like you, especially when I'm talking about the men here, I feel like both genders kind of see that maybe you're a very tired person, or you're somebody who's kind of like hard to get a hold of, or somebody who's like always sleeping. Especially with like the moon theme here, like you could be somebody who's always sleeping. Probably have a lot of earth in your chart, honestly, like Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. Especially Virgo, with that nurturing energy that I was talking about. Like, you could be like a very considerate person, and I definitely do feel like both sides, it's like you kind of treat both genders the same. I feel like you're very inclusive, and you're not somebody who like actively treats genders differently, or like like it's something that you're actively looking for. I feel like you're the last person that'll ask somebody for like what they identify as. Like, I feel like you just stick with they until they like clarify their pronouns or something. But I also feel like you're very respectful with those things. I feel like men and women alike can very much notice that you're very respectful and very mannered. But I feel like it's just the way that, I don't think it's you treat them differently, but it's like they react differently based on how you treat like everyone. It's like you treat these two people the same, but it's like you talk to one or the other and they both like have different reactions to you. And I definitely feel like that applies, and like you've talked to men and women the same, but it's like they have completely different reactions. So, how do men think of pile 1 or pile 3? How do men think of pile 3? How do men think of pile 3? Oh wow. Oh, it's messing up my chords, my layout. So we have 9 of Wands. Men definitely see you as like a very hard worker, or somebody who is always on to the next thing. Ooh, 4 of Cups on the bottom deck. Yeah, I feel like you're a very contemplative person, and men definitely see you as very calculated and very much looking to how you can complete things. Sorry, I just like yawned. I'm telling you, like pile 3, like you need to take a fulfilling nap on a Tempur-Pedic mattress. I feel like you're like one of those people that be like really tired. Like, I don't know, like now I just want to like stretch and like take a dirt nap. I've never taken a dirt nap, but I feel like they'd be low-key relaxing. Anyways, I feel like with this 9 of Wands here, like I just get this vibe that like they kind of notice that like you're a very defensive person. Not like defensive and like, oh, like what are you accusing me of, like this what we doing now, not like that, but like somebody who's like constantly explaining themselves. I feel like with men, like every time, like I think that this is both genders, but I think that men especially pick this up about you. It's like they'll ask you something, or like be like, hey, what's your fave color? And you'll be like, blue, because this one thing happened and I also really like the color, it's like very vibrant. There's I was just asking you for your fave color. Or like someone will be like, a man will be like, hey, where did you go? And you'll be like, oh, I went to the store with my friends because they needed something and they asked me to come along. You know, it's like I feel like with men, they kind of notice that like you're very thorough and you very much explain yourself all the time. And I feel like this kind of goes one to two ways. One, it kind of like shows that like men kind of notice that like you're a very thorough person and you're somebody who doesn't like to do things without conviction and you don't like to do things without reason. And on the other hand, I feel like they kind of see it as like you're kind of over explaining yourself, or that you may be like a little bit anxious or nervous or a little bit reluctant. You know, I feel like they kind of notice that like you may be like, they're nervous that like, or like you may come off as like nervous of like explaining yourself, or like you don't want to be interrogated by them. I feel like you very much do not like being asked questions, period. But I think that men kind of notice that about you. And I feel like you kind of like to shut those situations down. When by that I mean like you don't really like to sit through a long drawn out conversation with men. And I feel like you very much attract men that are like very like uninteresting, and I feel like you're very unintrigued by men, at least at an emotional or like mental level. I'm sensing more of a mental. I feel like you have no interest in talking to them. So yeah. What is pile three's relationship with women? Or like how do women see pile three? How do women view pile three? We have 10 of Cups. Wow. That's a beautiful card. Women definitely see you as like a very healing person, or somebody who's just like very, yeah, with this well card here, just a very like giving person and somebody who's very abundant. Women find a lot of wholeness with you. You may have sisters, pile three, but they just see you as like somebody who's very like, you know, caring and very open-minded. This Door to Spirit card here, I very much don't feel like you're an like I said, you could be an overly religious person, not overly, but you know, like a very religious person. But regardless of the case, like if you're not even that religious, I feel like you're somebody who is very superstitious and very much believes in the occult. And I feel like women notice that about you, and because of that, it's like women feel comfortable sharing their own beliefs with you. Or maybe you've gotten a lot of instances where like women kind of overshare with you because they're kind of like, you know, they feel safe and whole with you, and they very much like love intimacy with you. I feel like you've had a lot of women attracted to you, pile three. Honestly, I feel like a lot of women have fallen in love with you because they feel so much like connection with you, and they feel a lot of wholeness with you. And it's like whether or not that love is like platonic or romantic, I feel like it's safe to say that like a lot of women that get the privilege of knowing you, they're very like fascinated by you, and they love how open-minded you are and how like creative you are. I feel like you have a lot of talents or hobbies, and women definitely pick up on that. They're like, wow, like you're so good at blank, like wow, I didn't expect you to be so good at that. Or you know, they just see you as very smart and very like, you know, careful. You know, they see you as somebody who is always like making sure to be very thorough. You know, it makes me think of like somebody who, you know, like if someone asks you to paint a room, you literally get all of the corners. You know what I'm saying, pile three? That's the kind of the vibe that I'm picking up on. Like women just see you as like a very thorough individual, whereas men see you as a little bit like, they don't see the thoroughness about you, but they definitely do see that like you pay attention to detail. Because the third yawn, wow. But men see that you're very thorough too, but you know, it's not something they actively acknowledge, or that's not something that they immediately pick up on, especially if they like first met you. They just kind of see that like you're very like grounded, and that you're very practical, and probably like rely a lot on like logic. I feel like both genders really see that like you're somebody more logical than emotional. You're a very head over heart kind of person, and I definitely do sense that like with the 9 of Wands here, it's just like that further plays into the fact that like you're a little bit more reserved, and you're very much calculated in how you're going to get to that 10 of Wands, you know, and how you're going to think of the next thing to do, and like how you're going to kind of like make your next move, if you will. So let's see. What else do men think of pile three? What else do men think of pile three? What else do men think of pile three? Ace of Pentacles. Yeah, men, honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Men just kind of see that you're chasing the bag. There's a lot of earth themes here. Ace of Swords, another ace. men just see that like you're very much focused on the bag, and men probably see that like you have a very interesting relationship with money, or maybe you've had a lot of men give you money, or maybe like a lot of your financial opportunities have come through men, but that's just like a very specific message. But I feel like men kind of see that like you're very financially focused and you're somebody who is very eccentric at a material level, probably the way you dress. And I said this in pile 2, but I think it's a little bit different for you. I'm sensing a lot of earthy tones. And once again, like both genders can kind of see that you're very down to earth and you're a very grounded person. I think that women definitely resonate more with the colorful side of you. I feel like women kind of pick up on your like color more and like your personality more and what kind of person you are, whereas men just look at you for what you are. And I feel like, like you're probably like really into earthy things, like, like plants, earth tones, like oak and things like that, very earthy industrial things. And they kind of noticed that like you have like kind of like a very alt take on modern style. I don't know how to describe it. It's like the way you dress is just very like alt, and it's very unique to you, very bespoke to you, like you're a very thrifty person. And I definitely do feel as if the men kind of notice that like you're very beautiful too, because like obviously with all the earth themes here, like I feel like earth individuals have like the best, like they honestly have the best bodies, like not in like a gross like ill like you're so like nice body type of way, but like like we have the strongest bodies. I say we because I'm a Taurus moon, so hey. But you know what I mean? Like I know a lot of people of earth in their chart, and they're very prone to people like checking them out and like looking them up and down, and it's annoying, but it's just how it is. And I feel like men like look at you very much that way, especially since like your animal card is like, or like the animal card for that side is earth, the horse card. And it definitely plays into the fact that men probably see you as very like physically beautiful, and like if you are a woman, like you're very curvy, and like like you probably have like a very abundant appearance when it comes to like those areas. And if you're a man, like you come off as like pretty masculine, or somebody who is very strong, and somebody who like I feel like both, like regardless of what you identify as, like all like men just see you as like very like physically beautiful, and somebody who has a very strong and a very nice body, honestly. And then with the women's side here, it definitely seems as if though they don't really see that much of that, or like some women have noticed it, especially the ones that have really caught the feels for you, but they also notice that like you at a more emotional level, and they notice you for your personality and kind of who you are. Let's ask actually, how else do women view pile 3? How else do women view pile 3? How else do women view pile 3? We have 2 of Wands. And then on the bottom of the deck for this one, we have 3 of Cups. Women definitely see you as very, I don't know why, but like you may be a gossip girl with women, or like maybe like you're very prone to like, gossiping with women. But regardless of the case here, I feel like with 2 of Wands here, women may also see you as like a little bit troubled. I don't know how to describe it. Like somebody who is very much concerned about the future, and somebody who is very like you have a special relationship with the future and your destiny. And I feel like women kind of see that about you, regardless of whether or not they know you, because like I feel like women haven't seen you like actually work. They haven't seen you like at school or something. Like you very much are on your own path, and women see that about you. They see that like you're figuring yourself out, and you're figuring out your own identity. And it's kind of like a constant uphill battle for you in terms of your identity and your orientations. And they definitely pick that up about you, because they're like, they notice that like you're very practical and down to earth, but because of that, it's like you're very focused on like a material level, and you're very concerned about how you can make the best decisions to get you to where you want to be in terms of career and money. And I think that women sense that about you, especially if they're closer to you. They notice that like, I feel like this is both genders. They notice that like as they get closer to you, they understand like your special relationship with finances, and how you handle your money, and how you handle things at a material level, And I feel like you feel things at a very visceral level. And I think that especially men kind of notice that like maybe you're really health focused. Maybe you can kind of be prone to like being kind of of a hypochondriac or somebody who's very extremely focused on health. I think that women see that about you too, but they kind of look past it more. I think that men pick up on it way more. They're like, oh my gosh, pile 3 like takes vitamins like every single morning, and they're very concerned about their health, and they drink so much water, and they're always like, I feel like you're always like not diagnosing, but you're always like, oh, it could be this. Like someone's like, I have a stuffy nose, and like upset something. They're like, you probably have this. You know, I feel like men kind of notice that about you, and they kind of notice that like you're always trying to step in like that. Not in a bad way, but like, you know, they very much notice that like you're a very health focused person, and you're somebody who's very concerned, and you're very like, you know, like ready to help those in need, especially when it comes to like a more like medical level, or like when it comes to health. I feel like women also notice that about you. I feel like women are a little bit more like easygoing. If you know, when you tell them something related to health, they relate to you more, or they're like, oh, like, yeah, you're right, I will do that. But like men, you probably get some pushback or resistance from them. They're like, no, that's probably not what I have, and maybe that's a little bit frustrating. How else do men view pile 3? How else do men view pile 3? The Well card. Wow, we have that again. And then on the bottom of the deck, we have 10 of Pentacles. Men definitely find a lot of security with you, and they definitely feel very stable with you. You've probably attracted a lot of men in need, or like individuals in general in need. You could be a Virgo rising, but I feel like you've very much attracted men who like really depended on you with this attachment card. Like they got attached to you. I feel like men get attached to you very quickly as soon as they meet you, and it's probably been like an uphill battle in that sense too. But I feel like with this Well card here, it's like you are a well. Like you are a well of like stability and abundance to them. I feel another yawn coming. I'm like fighting it. Like I've just like, I feel like you're very tired of it, and because like I feel so lethargic like doing this reading. Like watch me go to pile 4 and I'll be all like energetic and stuff. Like, girl. But yeah, men definitely see that like you're a very like inspired person, and you're somebody who is very like focused on their finances. You're literally chasing the bag, and they literally see that about you. And but then at an emotional standpoint, they're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like, how could I ever live without pile 3, you know? Like I feel like you're a very forgiving person, and I feel like men have sometimes taken advantage of that because they notice that you are such a giving and like a considerate person. Whereas women don't really do that, you know. I feel like you naturally open up with women, and that they naturally understand not to overstep your boundaries, because like you are somebody that they see as laudable or somebody that should be respected. I feel like women are a little bit more afraid to confront you. I feel like both genders are very afraid to confront you or come at you sideways. But like women especially, they're not looking for a fight with you. And I feel like because of that, they're more easygoing and a little bit more submissive with you. How else do women view pile 3? How else do women view pile 3? 3 of Pentacles. And then on the bottom of the deck here, we have Queen of Swords. Yeah, definitely. You definitely radiate a lot of King of Swords energy. I feel like with the 3 of Pentacles and King of Swords, you come off as a very collaborative person with women, pile 3. I feel like women have like a fun time getting along with you, or women are very excited to work with you, especially if it's in like school or work or anything of the sort, you know. They love working with you because I feel like you have a lot of great ideas to bring to the table, and I feel like you're very like educated. Like I feel like you're a very culturally educated person. Somebody whose knowledge is very much like the ceiling is high, because like you're constantly learning, and you're constantly like looking how to educate yourself and like, you know, educate others. And I feel like women definitely notice that about you, because like you're constantly explaining things to them, or like whenever they ask you a question or something, you have some insight to like provide, you know. I feel like they see you as a very enlightening person to be around, and they really love that about you, honestly, pile 3. And it once again plays back to like, wow, they're hot and smart, you know what I mean? Women have definitely fallen in love with you. Men have fallen in love with you too, but it's a little bit more unhealthy and toxic, I must say. And I think you know this, pile 3. You know, like they literally get attached. Like, you know what I'm talking about. When I say that, you're like, girl, don't even get me started. Like, you're putting your wine glass down when you're like, don't even get me started. You will not believe what I have to tell you. But yeah, that's honestly all I have for you, pile 3. It's just like this reading just feels like, I feel like if I go any further, like especially if you are as earthy as you seem, like I just feel like you don't have time for that. But anyways, Thank you so much for watching Pile 3. If the reading resonated, do like, comment, and subscribe. Especially comment because I've never done a reading like this and I'm very intrigued to see how it resonated. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Again, I love you. Bye. Hello, Pile 4. If you chose Carvana, this is going to be your reading. So a little bit about Carvana. It's a dark water type. It was introduced in Gen 3 and it is the pre-evolved form of Sharpedo. So there's that, like if you resonate with that, I don't know. If you're dark water type Pokemon, I don't know. Anyways, so for your Oracle cards, I pulled 2 cards for both how men and women perceive you. So let's just get right into it. It's just easier to show you, So for the men's side, we have Angel of Balance and Wolf. And then for the women's side, we have 7th Chakra Archangel Uriel. And then we have Scorpion. So right off the bat, I get Scorpio energy. I mean, if I'm a Scorpio, and I would have chose Carvana because of the design on the card, but that's just me. Anyways, that's just my input, Pile 4. Anyways, so right at the bat with men, I feel like they see you as like someone very family oriented. You could be somebody who's very attached to your family or has a very tailored relationship with their family, meaning it isn't necessarily that traditional or it isn't conventional by any means. And I feel like men definitely notice that about you. I feel like a lot of men meet you through your family or they see you while you're with your family. And I feel like they can kind of see that like you're a very grounded person when it comes to your family. Maybe around when you're not with the family, you're a little bit unhinged or a little bit like territorial and defensive. And, with the Scorpion card being here, I feel like this kind of is an overall energy, but obviously it's still going to just apply to women. But, like Scorpions are very territorial creatures and they're very like defensive. I remember my brother told me, this is like some random fact, but I remember he was like, if you look at a scorpion, the bigger its claws are, the less potent its venom is. If its claws are really small, then that means it depends on its venom a lot more, so be careful. I was like, okay, thank you. But I feel like women definitely see you as very passionate and very like logical. Maybe someone who bottles things up a little bit too much. Maybe with women you're a little bit standoffish or kind of, how do I say, like territorial and a little bit more fierce and relentless. And what I mean by that is like you're a very dominant person. You radiate a lot of masculine energy. It doesn't matter what you identify as. It's like that kind of like, like go out and go get it kind of vibe about you. I feel like you're just like a very, like territorial is like the best word to say. And I feel like on the men's side, they can see that it applies with your family. And, when I think of a wolf, I think of like how like they're, the literal description in the booklet says that like wolves are very territorial creatures, especially when it comes to their tribe. And maybe with men, you can kind of come off as a little bit like overly aggressive. I noticed that like in both of these cards, the Scorpion's literally a fire card in this deck. But in both these, what looks like fire, but the fire's like location on the card is different. You know what I'm saying? Like in here, it's like around the wolf, but right here, it's coming from the Scorpion stinger. So I feel like women see you as producing fire, whereas men see you embracing the fire. And let me provide a little bit more context within that. So basically, I feel like men see that like you're very much like always trying to influence the situations around you. And I feel like you start fires or like you're not afraid to start fires because right here it's about to start, but right here it's already begun, And also wolves are pretty aggressive creatures. At least that's what I know. I don't know nothing about wolves. Like, if they aren't aggressive creatures, like, comment down below. But, like, basically, like, to the naked eye, to the uneducated eye, to those that don't know anything about you, you can come off as a little bit aggressive and maybe even a little bit, like, rude. Not, like, rude and, like, oh, my God, like, Pile 4 is so freaking mean. But more in the sense that, like, you're somebody who is probably a little bit defensive or, like, you come off that way. Everything I'm saying right now is, like, kind of like a hunch, you know, like if someone just seeing you randomly in public, it's kind of the vibe they get. And especially with men, I just feel like they see you as somebody who's very measured with that angel balance card there. You're somebody who is very careful and somebody who is kind of like analytical and kind of like very cautious of your surroundings. This makes me think of like Virgo and Scorpio energy, because like I feel like actually like Capricorn and Virgo plus Scorpio, I feel like equals like a very like aggressive person and someone who is very sharp with their words and has quite the tongue, I must say, in a lot of different ways, I guess. But we're just gonna move on. And I feel like with women, they kind of see you as somebody who yields power, because obviously the Scorpion is yielding the fire. I feel like they see you as somebody who has a lot of power, or somebody who is a little bit aggressive and kind of like withholds everything, and you're probably very prone to striking. I feel like with women, you don't really tolerate like disrespect for them, or maybe like women kind of notice that like you're somebody who has power, or somebody who's very dominating, or somebody who's like overly aggressive. So like maybe like it depending on the like I think that this is kind of an overall, it doesn't matter man or woman. I feel like overall it's safe to say that like people are a little bit hesitant to come at you sideways, or people are very careful about approaching you because like you are pretty like not aggressive, but like you're somebody who won't tolerate it. You know what I mean? You're just somebody you're just not the one. You're not standing around and taking it. Like that's just not how you roll. And I think women see that more than men do, but I also feel like women see that you're very like, how do I say, like a thought-oriented person, because of the seventh chakra obviously rules over the crown chakra. And I also feel like you give off very regal energy, Pile, for somebody who you probably don't care that much about trends. And I think that women definitely notice that about you. Like you aren't that big on trends probably, or that you aren't somebody who follows trends, or you're not somebody who keeps up with like the day to day. I think that if anyone approaches you and they're like, hey, have you heard about the latest drama? You'd be like, no. Like, oh my God, did you hear about this? And you'll be like, no, I didn't. Or somebody will be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, it's like 2005 and you're like, someone's like raving about Ugg boots and you're like, what are Ugg boots? And they're like the thing right now, and you're like, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like you're just somebody who doesn't follow traditional trends like that, and you're not somebody who cares for things like that. And I think that women very much see that about you. And I also feel like you really think for yourself and you have like a really strong backbone. I feel like women can kind of notice that whenever you give your opinion, it's like strictly from your own like, you know, like conclusions, you know. It's not like, oh, like this influenced me, or oh, like women notice that you can't really be swayed within your decision making, or like you're a very stubborn person, you know. And I think that men see that about you too. But I feel like with men, you kind of like, you're a little bit more open. I feel like you're very friendly with men, honestly, with the wolf card here, because it makes me think of like, you know, like the wolf is like, I feel like you're very protective over your friends and family. I think that men definitely see that about you, and I think that you don't tolerate disrespect to your friends or family from men. I feel like this applies to both sides, but I feel like, you know, like that's what men seem to notice about you. And I also feel like, I don't know, like you just come off as like a loner, or somebody who's kind of like quiet, you know, like it makes me think of lone wolf, you know, like that term, you know, especially with this Scorpio energy that I'm picking up on here. You don't have to be a Scorpio, but you know, like that lone wolf energy, somebody who is very much, you know, clammed up, somebody who's focused on themselves and is kind of doing their own thing. So let's see what the tarot has to say, because I literally need context. With the Scorpio energy being on the woman's side, I also feel like women probably see us very mysterious, or like even like sexually alluring, honestly, because Scorpio is such a promiscuous sign. Alright. What do men think of pile 4? What do men think of pile 4? We have 5 of swords. And then on the bottom, it's like we have 6 of Swords. That's interesting. I feel like men can kind of see that, like, how do I say this? Like, you're somebody who isn't afraid to cut cords or, like, cut your losses. I feel like men can kind of see that you faced a lot of disappointments, you know, with the whole fire thingy going on in the back. I feel like, at the wolf card, I feel like men can kind of see that, like, you've tolerated fires or that you've kind of caused fires because, like, you aren't afraid to stand up for what it is that makes you happy, or that you aren't necessarily afraid of, like, causing situations if it's in the name of your own peace. You know, like, you won't sit there and be pushed around, you know. If someone's, like, bullying you or somebody you really care about, you won't sit there and be like, oh, like, you know, like you won't be passive about it. Like, you're gonna be like, girl, what is the tea? What is going on here? You know? You're literally the first person to pull up and be like, what's good, you know? I feel like you really don't tolerate it, and you're probably a little bit tempered because of that. I think that men kind of see that you're a little bit more hot-headed. I think that they definitely get that more from you. Women see it too, but it's a little bit more measured and a little bit more, like, you know, calm and maybe even a little bit patient, because Scorpions are more patient. And I also feel like you could be like a night owl. I feel like men kind of see that, like, you're like a very, like, night type person. I've been getting that a lot in all the readings today, but I feel like with you it's a little bit different, because I feel like maybe, like, you do a lot of work at night, or, like, you kind of, like, go to school at nighttime, things like that, you know. But regardless of the case here, I feel like with the 5 of Swords, it definitely seems as if the men can kind of notice that, like, you've cut ties with people, or that you're kind of like a loner, you know. Because I feel like if you're going out or something, it's pretty rare that you're out with friends, or when you are, it's clear that you're kind of, like, not detached, but you're not, like, completely 100% involved, because, like, you very much are focused and kind of doing your own little thing. And I feel like men really notice that about you, is that, like, you're kind of like a loner, you know. Like, you're somebody who is a little bit more, like, reserved and a little bit more careful, especially with when it comes to, like, you know, talking to people or, like, exchanging energies. Whereas women see you as a little bit more, like, charismatic, and they see you as, like, a little bit more, like, alluring, maybe even flirtatious. And I feel like women can kind of see, like you have, like, a very interesting sense of humor. And women can kind of notice that you're very smart and witty because of your sense of humor. You know, the way you laugh and the way you joke is just, like, very bespoke to you and very unique. I don't think that they have ever met somebody with a sense of humor like yours. And women are also very, like, fascinated about how you carry yourself, because, like, obviously it is the crown chakra with this archangel card, and it makes me think of, like, you know, crown, you know, like, crown equal royalty. And I feel like women definitely see that you're very in control, and you're also probably very ambitious. And I think that women see that from you more than men. I feel like maybe men sometimes have kind of, like, tried to dismiss your accomplishments. Maybe men has been like, oh, like, they got boosted, you know, they have that many followers because they got boosted, or, like, they bought all their followers, or, like, oh, like, the only reason that they're doing so well at work is because the boss freaking loves them, and, you know, things like that. I feel like men have probably men have tried to, like, dismiss your hard work or kind of invalidate you because, like, they're jealous of you, especially with that 5 of Swords energy. And maybe because of that, you've had to cut off a lot of men, or you have, you know, had to stand your ground against a lot of men, or, you know, like, stand up against them, be like, hey, like, let me just humble you real quick. Whereas women kind of see you as, like, a little bit more, like, thoughtful and a little bit more magnanimous, if you will. Let me see, actually. How do women see pile 4? How do women see pile 4? We have 2 of Wands. And then on the bottom of the deck, we have Judgment. Yeah, to women, you definitely come off as, like, very, how do I say this? Someone who is very intrigued, and somebody who is constantly looking for answers, you know? It's like, even the way you just kind of, like, carry yourself, it's like, you know when you're just, like, walking in, like, a big building or something, and there's, like, that one woman who's, like, wearing, like, a trench coat and, like, is walking really fast, and she's, like, wearing heels, and it's, like, really loud. It's like you hear, like, the You know, that noise, I feel like that's very much the energy you embody, pile 4. You know, it doesn't, you don't have to be a woman or anything of the sorts, but what I'm trying to say here is that you give off this determined and like busy energy, you know, and I feel like women really see that about you. Like you are that figure. Like you are the person walking through the lobby who's like kind of mysterious and clearly has places to be, and like maybe even some women kind of feel like you've gotten your hands dirty before, or like you've done some shady things, you know, regardless of, it doesn't matter if you have or not, but basically you kind of give off that vibe of somebody who is very ruthless and a little bit detached and is very much willing to do what others may be afraid to do to get what you want. And I feel like maybe sometimes it can be a little bit taboo, or you've done things a little bit risky, you know. I feel like you're a huge risk taker, and I feel like maybe women can kind of see that about you, like like gambling, you know, things like that. You don't have to be a gambler, but you know, that risk taking, you know, I feel like women definitely see that about you, in the sense that like you're very like you're a risk taker, and you're somebody who is very like dangerous with that kind of stuff, and somebody who has pretty good luck. I feel like women think you're very lucky, and they see you as very lucky, and maybe because of that they haven't wanted to test their own luck against yours, and that's probably translated in a bunch of different ways. Like maybe like if you and another woman are competing for the same position, like they kind of like back down, or they're kind of like intimidated by you, so they kind of like, you probably get like a lot of strong reactions from women, especially a lot of love or hate. They either love you and they're like all over you, or they literally just cannot stand you or your guts, and they're like, get this insert profanity out of my face. Whereas men can kind of see you as like not passive, but a little bit like you're aggressive in a different way, you know. Like I feel like with men, like you very much know your place, and I don't know, it's just like with men, they see you as a very formidable opponent, but women, they just see you as like they feel like they can't even win against you, or if like, you know, they fail miserably trying to compete with you. And I don't know, you just have like this competitive energy about you. It makes me think of like, once again, like that Virgo and Capricorn plus Scorpio vibe. Like I feel like that is, it's very suave. Like I feel like women see you as very suave and very like alluring and like attractive, you know. It's like a dangerous attractive, you know. They're like, oh my gosh, like pile 4 is just like crazy, but it's just so like dangerously attractive, you know. And I feel like maybe you've had a lot of admirers, or you've had a lot of people like obsess over you, or maybe you've had a lot of people like, you know, like latch onto you energetically, and it's kind of like exhausting. And I feel like this once again plays with the men's side, because like with this 5 of swords here, I feel like they can kind of sense that you've cut a lot of cords, or that you're not afraid to like let go of people if it's in the name of like something you want, something you need. I just feel like you don't care that much. And not to say that you don't care at all. Like I feel like you care about some people in your life. Obviously with the wolf card, like they see you as like a very like tribe oriented person, and somebody who very much cares about people in their life. But it's just kind of like, they're like, wow, like if you aren't pile 4's close friend, or like, you know, like family member, it really does seem as if they'll just like drop you for not no reason, but they'll drop you without like hesitation, you know. Like maybe in that case, like people have been obsessed with getting your attention, or getting like obsessed with like being part of your circle, you know. And you've probably had a lot of like I said, crush, like people who crush on you and stuff like that. How else do men see pile 4? Oh wow, that's 2 cards. Let's take them. We have 9 of swords and King of Pentacles, and then on the bottom like we have 5 of Pentacles. It definitely, we have 2 5s here, so I feel like once again plays back into that Scorpio theme of like, you're probably a very transformative person. I feel like a lot of men, if they've been friends with you, or you know, they've had the privilege of like being with you romantically, any relationship, you know, it doesn't matter what the context of the relationship is. The point is, I feel like men have really like transformed a lot with you, and like I feel like you're a very transforming person, and you're somebody who evokes change within people, especially men. I feel like maybe you motivate men to do better, or to be like more like better for themselves and their family. But with this 9 of swords here, you evoke a lot of like anxiety in men, pile 4. Like you make them really nervous, you know, like they're very like nervous around you, and they don't want to anger you, they don't want to displease you, honestly. And I feel like they walk on eggshells around you sometimes. And with this King of Pentacles here, I feel like you're a very established person financially or like materialistically, like you could own a house, you could have your own apartment or something like that, something where it's clearly yours. You're probably a very possessive person. I feel like both sides kind of see that. I think women see that you're a bit more possessive. I think women get that from you more. But in terms of men, I feel like they see you as very possessive still, but not to the degree that women see it. I feel like with women, they see that you're more possessive from like a moralistic and kind of like relational point of view, if that's even a word, in the sense that you're possessive over things and people, whereas men kind of see you as like possessive over your finances and your career. It's kind of the same thing, but it's like different shades of it. It's like it's very nuanced. And I feel like with this King of Pentacles here, it's like you come off as like a very stable and like established person, a very managerial person. And I feel like a lot of men definitely see that about you. And a lot of men are probably like afraid of you, pile 4. Like not even afraid of you, but they're, like I said, very intimidated by you. And I think that with the 9 of Swords, some are blatantly just afraid of you or very nervous around you or very nervous to like say things to your face. I feel like I think that across the board, you've had a lot of people just like talk bad about you or like talk about you behind your back or like spread your business because they're too intimidated to say it to your face. I also think that like with the Scorpio theme going here, I think that men see you as very like beautiful and very like alluring. Women definitely see that about you too. I feel like women can kind of see that like a lot of people want you, or like that a lot of people have their eye on you, or that a lot of people don't really have the privilege of getting to know you. I think that you're a very like you're a small circle oriented person, and I think that women definitely see that about you. Women see that you're not like, how do I say this? Men see the people you're friends with, and men see that like you do have friends and that you do have people you're very close with, and you're not willing to extend outside of that. Women don't know the circles that you're with, period, and because of that, it's just like they're like, wow, does pile 4 even have friends, or like do they even, you know what I mean here? It's just they're very confused. How else do women view pile 4? Oh wow, 2 more cards. We have Ace of Swords on the bottom of the deck, absolutely. 4 of Swords, and then the Star. I feel like women see you as like yet again a very managerial person, but with the Star card here, I feel like you also stand for a lot of justice. I feel like you're very like you're somebody who's healing. I think that if women have gotten the privilege of knowing you very well, this is a little bit of a deeper part of the reading, but if they've gotten to know you, they definitely feel like you're a little bit like emotional, and they can kind of see that like you do like you have suffered and that you have tolerated some mishaps and that you've gone through a lot considerably. And I feel like they kind of see that about you. Sorry, some random things just popped in my head. With the 9 of Swords on the men's side, I also maybe feel like on the flip side, you could be a very like nervous person, or you're somebody who is very worried about things, or somebody who kind of micromanages things. Maybe like with the King of Pentacles, like with men, you can kind of come off as like overly controlling or like a little bit overly aggressive, and maybe that evokes a little bit, maybe it's out of anxiety or maybe it makes them feel anxious. But something about how you interact with men, they perceive you as like very aggressive and somebody who is controlling and maybe even a little bit devious or like mischievous. But anyways, with women, I feel like they see you as like somebody who is very like humanitarian. You probably have very humanitarian values, and you probably really care about the collective society, or that you're very focused on bettering yourself for the sake of society or for the sake of something. And I feel like, regardless of what your motives are, I feel like they see you as like a very determined and motivated person, somebody who's very focused on, like themselves, focused on your political views, your, relationship standpoints, how you perceive things. I think that women really love getting your opinion and like love hearing what you have to say with this Ace of Swords on the bottom of the deck. Earlier we had the bottom of the deck being 5 of Pentacles, and I feel like men can kind of sense that you face some hardships, especially regarding your family and finances. I feel like I don't know, like, it's just like they can kind of sense that about you. They sense that you're very humble and that you've probably built yourself up from the literal ground. And then women can kind of see that, like, with the Four of Swords and then the Ace of Swords, you're a very meditative person, and I feel like you're very intentional with your moves. You're somebody who is very calculated and somebody who's very analytical and somebody who just really thinks a lot and does a lot of things from a premeditated plan. Like, I also feel like you're kind of looks could kill kind of person. I feel like your eyes tell a lot. I feel like men see that a little bit more than women. I feel like men can kind of see that, like, you have like a death glare, or that like you have like a very prominent stare, or you just have like this like look. I don't know how to describe it. Like, if you look at somebody or glare at somebody, they'll be like, you know, I feel like you're very much that kind of person, and maybe that's plays into the whole thing that men can kind of see you as like a little bit like standoffish or a little bit aggressive in your approach and a little bit controlling, whereas women see that like you're a little bit more fluid and you're a little bit more like magnanimous with them, if you will. But I feel like they kind of see that like you're just stubborn. Like, women just see you as stubborn, and men see it as like, wow, they really want it their way, you know. It's like different levels of stubbornness and different like interactions. I definitely do think that with women you're a little bit more like willing, but with men you're just like, girl. I'm actually gonna pull one more card for each side here. How do men view pile one? How else does men view pile one? We have High Priestess. Yeah. They definitely see you as very intuitive, very intentional. I feel like men can kind of sense like it's interesting because when you first meet men, I feel like they think you're a very logical person, but I think that if men have gotten the chance to really get to know you, you might reveal that you're strictly driven by your emotions and you're very intentional with your intuition, because like you follow your feelings more than your thoughts. And I feel like that's something that like men figure out about you as they get to know you, if they get to know you. How do women view pile 4? How else do women view pile 4? Seven of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like women definitely see that like you're building something. The Three of Swords here. I feel like once again, like I feel like a lot of this particular reading is gonna be like more about like how people that have gotten the chance to know you feel, because I just feel like simply from both sides, like you don't reveal enough about yourself, or you don't really talk about yourself enough for people to draw appropriate conclusions about you, or do people truly know enough about you. And I feel like from both sides, especially women, you've garnered, actually no, more men, sorry, I just feel like a lot, like both sides have really talked about you behind your back because they don't know much about you, and I feel like they're very intimidated to ask, especially men. And I feel like they want to know more about you, but they simply can't unless you like just openly give them a chance, or you initiate. With this High Priestess card here, I feel like they can kind of sense that you're a very intuitive person and that you're very good at getting a read on men. And I feel like for some of them that makes them a little bit paranoid. They're like, oh, how does pile 4 see right through my facade, you know? And then women, I feel like they see you as just like a very progressive person and somebody who's very slow to open up, whereas men, like I feel like it's either A, you open up, or B, you don't. Whereas women, I feel like it just takes time for you to warm up to them. I feel like you have an okay relationship with women, and a lot of your best friends or like people you're really associated with are probably women. But I also feel like you're a very exclusive person when it comes to men. I feel like, you know, like if you have a man as a lover, then like you just don't talk to anyone. Or like, you know, your best friend is a dude. Like I feel like you stick to that one man. I feel like in that sense, like you're kind of like, the wolf card kind of applies in that you're very like tribe oriented, and that you're not very much interested in talking to other men when you already have one man to talk to. But like with women, I think that you're a little bit more open-minded, and I feel like you're a little bit more like willing. But I feel like obviously that's like, take it for a grain of salt, because I think that women still see you as a little bit standoffish and a little bit of a loner and somebody very unwilling to let people in just like that. Especially since like a lot of women that have gotten to know you have heard about your hardships and your heartbreaks, and they're just kind of like, wow, like pile 4, they've gone through a lot more than you think, y'all. And then with the Seven of Pentacles, it's just like, once again, they see you as a very progressive person. They see that like you're building something, you know, whether it be a family, whether it be like career, whether it be schooling, you know, they see you as a very intentional and motivated person. And you very much have your eye on the prize. Like, you have a lot of set expectations, and women definitely sense that about you. But yeah, that's honestly all I have for you, pile 4. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me how the reading resonated. If it did, like, comment, subscribe. I love talking to y'all, and I've also never done a reading like this, so I'm very intrigued to see how it applied. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.